What's up guys, Camden here, and there is a lot of talk in the Destiny community right now about the current seasonal model and how tiring the current format is. Destiny's game director Joe Blackburn posted a thread today commenting on the community's reaction and what Bungie plans to do moving forward. He says, "I just want to step in and say, heard loud and clear on the feedback with our current seasonal backbones. The team is excited to put some more creative risk in seasonal progressions, but there will be some time before the feedback catches up with the development cycle." He goes on to talk about Season 20 being already complete and Season 21 being halfway through development, so it might be a while before we see any substantial changes to the seasonal model. I personally thought we wouldn't see anything until after Lightfall as we move into the next saga, but if we can start seeing some changes next year, I can't imagine that not being welcome. There is a question though as to what those changes might or perhaps should look like. So instead of leaving a Twitter thread of my thoughts, I thought I'd make up a quick video and share them here. So a big thing for me is I don't feel like seasons are a complete loss at this point. Bungie should really focus on the good parts about seasons and expand upon them, while cutting the stuff that just isn't fun or desirable. So here are 4 quick things that I would consider as Bungie looks to make changes to Destiny's seasonal model. Number 1, make less seasons. I've thought for a while now that there should only be 3 seasons a year. This may be quite controversial, but I have good reason for it. One point would be that jumping into a seasonal story when expansion is just dropped is pretty awkward. Let the expansion breathe a little bit before we jump into a new story. This would also allow more development time on each and every season, so the seasons could be beefed up and expanded upon. Currently, seasons feel pretty thin and repetitive. If they can mix more elements in by having more time to develop them, I'd have to imagine they would be much more memorable. Assuming they don't just stretch the length of the story beats, this will also allow more catch-up time for those who fall behind. We've had a number of 4+ month seasons anyways, and while they can get a little long, they are generally fine. One concern that I have with this change is that it would mess up my beloved 2 raids and 2 dungeons a year, which is honestly pretty cool. Considering that this is the content that I like to engage with the most, I'd recommend cutting just one of the dungeons and go ahead and use that extra development time to beef up the main expansion raid. I've grown really tired of the predictable 4 encounter raids that can be breezed through once you get the hang of it with a competent team. Some of the most popular raids, like Last Wish and King's Fall, stand out because of their 6 encounters, which allows you to get deeply involved into your journey throughout the raid. Number 2, new activities aren't necessary. I'm going to be brief with this one, but new activities really aren't all that necessary. Sure, some are cool, but many of them get old very quickly. Menagerie may be a clear exception to this, and honestly, I feel like Catchcraft could have been close if only there were a few more encounters added that could have come up in rotation. Astral Alignment wasn't too bad, but most activities like Expedition, Containment, Battlegrounds just get old really quickly. If you've ever fallen behind on a seasonal story and you have to grind these again, they are exceptionally painful. With an easy difficulty, a nearly static surrounding, and little story going on, this sounds like a 3 strikes you're out situation. Number 3, focus on missions. Missions are some of the best parts of Destiny, and I'm not just talking about Whisper the Worm and 0 Hour. In retrospect, seasons like Season of the Hunt actually got pretty good near the end of the season, where you were worried less about doing Wrathborn hunts, which at least were short and non-offensive, but having slightly different versions of Harbinger each week to farm for pinnacles was a lot of fun. Just doing it solo was great, but if you wanted to get done super fast, just bring in a couple FGs, turn on the YouTube, and the added story beats we would get were a plus as well. Presage might not be on the level of 0 Hour, but it was still fantastic, as were other things like Shattered Realm and Expunge. Put me in creepy spaces, let me find secrets, and sometimes I just want to zoom through a mission to get my pinnacle. Some of my favorite parts of any season is just moving through the world, be it new or even in an occasionally old area. Give me some voice lines in a pinnacle and I'm happy. I certainly want some of them to be hard, but I really do love being able to just take out my Eager Edge Sword and zoom through some of them as well. Number 4, drip feed weekly story beats are okay, but time-gated grids are not. Honestly, I don't hate the drip feed model if it's done right. I could use a touch more story each week, but I do enjoy the episodic format that the current seasons provide. While I'm getting that content though, I would much prefer to move through a world instead of doing an activity in any given area. If we are going to occasionally have an activity with grid unlocks associated with it, at least let us get the unlocks all done week 1 so we can optimize farming. Right now, to unlock everything, you have to wait almost almost until the end of the season when we're already burned out and don't want to do the activity anymore. To continue on the weekly story idea, I'm also less crazy about the remote messages. Doing it every once in a while is okay, but I feel like we should be meeting with these characters in the open world more often. Just let us go to a certain part of the tower and visit them there. I think that would be much more enjoyable than just watching them on a video screen. Ultimately, I think the main thing for me is just beef up the missions. Give us more like the start of the current season of the Seraph, where we have to dive into the Braytech labs again to kick things off. Maybe it's an area we've already been, maybe it's not. But give us voice lines going through an area is much more fun than picking up and banking items or standing on plates. Challenge the development team to bring in new mechanics. The stealth mechanic this season of sneaking around is really cool. I just feel like they should tighten the margins to make it easier for us to die. It's not like the consequences are very severe anyways. So what would you most like to see Bungie do with seasons going forward? Have a good idea not talked about here? Leave a comment down below, or tell me about how horribly out of touch I am. That's okay too. Hopefully Bungie can make some solid changes and really keep this game strong and consistent moving forward. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.